Right, welcome back to the channel. A slightly different video as promised. We are here to talk about the ladder drill. Knebworth Golf Club again, beautiful day. Thank you to Mark and the team for having us. Now, we didn't know this was here, little gem. We have a chipping area, okay? A perfect area with lots of flags to start to talk about the ladder drill. Now, what is the ladder drill? The ladder drill is basically a way that I have come up with, nothing new, nothing groundbreaking, but a way that I've sort of packaged up as a way to control distances, carry distances, so where the ball's going to land with all your different wedges. Now, today I've got my 58-degree wedge, and we're just going to go through how I would start to calibrate certain distances and certain swing lengths while keeping it quite simple. You know, I'm not talking about half swings or quarter swings. I actually use body parts. And I use body parts because, for example, if I said ribs, we can interpret ribs as anywhere in this area. So it's not too specific, and it kind of incorporates feel and structure. So I want someone to have good feel and good skill level and good imagery in the way to feel the shot, but I want them to have a structure as well. Now, there's three main important things when it comes to the ladder drill for me. Number one, consistent contact. Consistent contact for me comes down very much to low point control. So where we're landing that golf club consistently on the ground. So we want to hit it, making sure that we're hitting ball, then we're hitting the ground after, and we're hitting down into our shots as we would an iron. So for me, setup is massively important. So before we work at distances, I'm going to talk through the basic chipping or pitching setup that I would like to see for most of my players to give us the best chance of consistent contact. So to start us off, what we would do is we would have our feet slightly closer together than normal. I like to see roughly 3 club heads, and you'll notice that my front foot is flared out. Reason for that does two things for me. That gives me a platform to be able to position my weight on. I'm very, very in favor of creating what we call a pivot point through the ankle, knee, hip, shoulder, and ear. And you can see that my weight is probably 70% on my left side. Now, what that does, assuming I keep it there and I pivot around that point, is it helps me land the club after the ball. So it's going to help me hit down, avoid them thin and fat shots. Now, although it's not the only factor, it's a very, very big one. So, as we said, we're going to go slightly narrower in the feet. We can adjust ball position depending on how we want to see the ball fly, but as a rule of thumb, I play the ball position slightly back of center. So slightly back of center, foot turned out, weight probably 70% on my lead side. Now, what I like to feel on pitches is the back of my triceps sits softly on my ribs, and as I'm making the action around the pivot point, I like to feel like my arms, chest, knees, hips, and golf club are all moving in a very 1-to-1 ratio. So unlike the full golf swing, we don't want loads of separation, we don't want loads of pressure shifting, because we're not trying to create velocity and power. We're trying to basically get that consistent contact and get that consistent distance over and over again. So I'll demonstrate a couple of basic pitch shots now, going through that process. So, you know, ball position somewhere near the middle. If it's a little back or a little forward, it doesn't really matter. Somewhere near the middle, maybe just back of center, foot turned out, weight distribution on my left side, nice, soft, slightly flexed arms. I'm going to stay on that left side, and all I'm going to simply feel is that I turn back and turn through as one. Okay, that's going to help me, as you see here, hit the ball, then the ground. That's going to control the window that I launch the ball at, and it's going to give me consistent contact. So now we look at how we can start to control distances. Right, so why is the ladder drill important? So, ladder drill. If I drive it really, really well and I have a great long game day, I'm going to leave myself a lot of wedge shots. So this distance control exercise from 120 yards and down allows me to optimize my score when I happen to have them days. But on the flip side, say I have a terrible day and I'm hitting the trees all day long, well, I'm going to have a lot of recovery shots back into position, and funnily enough, I'm going to leave myself a lot of wedge shots. So again, if my wedge game is very, very hot, I'm going to be able to maintain some level of a respectable score and get through the day the best possible way. So, assuming that you can get off the tee and your long game is moderately okay, this is very important for optimizing score and then saving your score when you're having a bad one. So we're going to talk a little bit about how I start to think about controlling distance now. You know now how to strike a ball consistently. So you can see here I've got 3 flags on the left-hand side. The first one is roughly 40 yards, the second one is roughly 50 yards, and the third one is roughly 60 yards. So we're going to just do them 3 different distances today. Now, a lot of people ask me, if I don't have a TrackMan, Chris, how do I do that? Well, if you've got access to a Bushnell, that's all I've done here. I've zapped the flags. I know now I've positioned myself in such a way where I know them distances are correct. If I don't have this, we can pace it. And even if you don't have flags, you can use range bar sticks, head covers, alignment sticks, whatever you want. Pace out 40 yards, put a stick in the ground. Pace out another 10 yards. So you're starting to gain some structure. It takes a little bit more effort than just smacking balls on the range, but you're going to reap the rewards of that later on in your golf game. So before we worry about the lengths of swings, what I always do is I go onto my Spotify app, and for me personally, I get an 80 beats per minute metronome. So I'll play that now. Okay, so that's that metronome I keep playing, sometimes in headphones, sometimes I just pop it on the floor in front of me. So what I'm trying to do, whatever swing length that I make, is I'm trying to stick within that tempo. So obviously on a shorter swing, the tempo is going to look a lot slower than on a longer swing, but the pace is going to change, but the tempo is going to be the same. So what that enables me to do is, 1, keep my pitching action feeling like a continuous motion. Now I will be accelerating through it, but I'm not trying to accelerate through it. I'm allowing gravity and just motion to naturally accelerate the golf club without forcing it or driving the handle, which is what I see a lot of people struggle with when they have yips or contact issues. So again, not worrying about distance here. I'll get myself set. You can hear the beat. If I did a really slow one, 1, 2. Okay, and that was a nice tempo for that shot. If I was going longer, again, if you listen to the beat, it'll be a bit quicker. 1. Right, it's a slightly quicker pace of swing, but it stays within that tempo. Now, whether it's 60 beats per minute, 70 beats per minute, 90 beats per minute, or 80 beats per minute, whatever it is, find your tempo. Find what you're comfortable with. There's no right or wrong. For me, what's a non-negotiable is that continuous motion piece. That enables us to manage acceleration consistently, and there's no point having swing lengths if every single pace and tempo is different. So if you see the order we've done it, it's contact first, it's tempo second, and now we're going to talk about body parts. So I'm going to pop up a little grid here, which tells you with my 58 degree, my 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and 95 yard swings, and how I've measured them on my TrackMan and outside. And now I'm going to demonstrate to you a few. And remember, this is not where the ball finishes, because this is going to run a little bit. This is where the ball lands. So depending on the conditions of the course, how wet it is, etc., I'm going to make little adjustments to that. So let's start with 40 yards. So for me, 40 yards, I interpret as a pocket-to-pocket swing. I did this in my first video, the very first pitch shot I hit at Harpenden Common when I broke par. Have a little look at that video if you haven't seen it already. And what's important to remember is it may to you not look like pocket-to-pocket, and that doesn't matter. But for me, it feels like pocket-to-pocket, and I can repeat that swing. So if someone says to you, that's not chest, but it feels like chest, it doesn't matter what it actually is, as long as you can repeat it over and over again. So the pin on the left is about 40 yards. So I usually give myself roughly a 2 to 3 yard tolerance. So I'm looking for this ball to land within 2 yards short or 2 yards long consistently. And then I know that if 2 yards is 6 feet or 3 yards is 9 feet, my distance control is going to be consistent enough. So listening to the beat, ball position slightly back, turn the front foot out, position the weight on the left side, soften the arms. Now all I'm going to be thinking about is pocket to pocket. I'm not thinking about anything in my technique. I'm just turning, following the beat. Pocket, pocket. So if we watch that shot, bang, it's landed about a yard short of the flag. I know I've done that long enough, distance control is going to be good. Now, again, it's downwind here, the ground's firm on this chipping green, so it's going to run a lot, and that doesn't matter. As long as I know I'm landing it in the right place, that's what's within my control. The bounces we get, if we don't quite judge the ground, that's not out of our control, that's just the luck of the draw. So we'll try the same shot again. Again, ball position the same, fits turned out, weight on the left, nice soft arms. I'm going to keep it there. Again, I'm listening to the beat. Pocket to pocket. That one was a little bit past my pocket, and that ball is flown a yard or so past the flag. I felt that I went longer, right? So we're only human. Sometimes I don't quite do what I intend to do, but it's close enough. So now I wanted to go to 50 yards. So 50 yards is the pin to the right and slightly longer. Again, we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to stick to the exact same tempo. We're going to have the exact same setup, but now we're going to move from my pocket, for me, to my hip bone or somewhere in my hip area. Again, it doesn't need to be perfect. It's just a feel for me. So if you watch that flag, if I do this correctly, we should see this ball land within 2 yards of that flag. I'm going to try and aim a bit better than the last one. Okay, same setup, nice and relaxed. Ball's moving a little bit, we're still going to go for it. Listen to the beat. Watch the flag. Bang, right next to it. Landed perfect, 50-yard golf shot. We'll go again. Same setup. Listening to the beat. Same setup. Stay on the left side. Really important that I pivot around that point. Just left of it. Bang, just past it, probably a yard or two. But again, close enough. Now, when I practice a little bit, and if I do this for an hour or so, I get razor sharp at this. And this is what, if I had a chance to practice, if I had a chance to have just 30 minutes before I'm playing, I'd hit a few warm-up shots, and then this is what I'd be doing, because I know I'm going to have a lot of these on the golf course. So to finish off, we're going to go for 60 yards. That's the back pin, okay? Again, we're going to keep everything the same, and now we're going to move to our ribs. Again, rib area, nothing too specific. I feel when the butt of the club or my right hand kind of reaches that area, that's me done. And it's very important that we try and mirror the swing on the other side, because if I was to go ribs here and then do a full follow through, you can clearly see I'm accelerating too hard, so the rate of acceleration is going to be inconsistent. We don't want that. Okay, 60 yards, back pin, same setup, weight on the left. We know it's our rib, we're going to try and just follow the beat. Watch the flag, bang, about a yard short of it again. So there we go, we've just hit a 40, 50, 60 yard shot. You could see where they landed. Again, the roll and what happens after the landing point, that's out of my control, and that's where you get better on the course at getting golf IQ, making good decisions. But this is what I would recommend everybody doing, because this is the piece that when you get to a certain level, this is going to slash your handicap down. So to finish off, what we're going to do is we're going to do 140, 150, 160, no retakes. Let's see how close we can go. Put us under a little bit of pressure. And again, this is what I would encourage. Consequential practice. The camera is on me now. I have no retries. We're going to try and land this 40, 50, 60 and see how we handle the pressure. So on the course, this is the routine I would go through. I would make a couple of continuous practice swings, and I'm just listening to the beat. Do you know what? We'll actually try and do it without the beat, so we haven't got any help at all. I would come behind the ball, I'd pick my a preliminary target, which is this little bit of mud here. I'd take one, like my putting, 2, 3. They felt like pocket to pocket. Go through my setup. Keep the weight on the left. And all I'm focusing on is pocket to pocket. Probably 2 yards short on that one, maybe 3. So I underhit that ever so slightly, but again, 3 yards is 9 feet, it's acceptable. We'll go from there to the 50, that's slightly to the right. We'll go behind it, we'll pick our point. So we're aiming correctly. We'll make 3 practice swings. Hip to hip, hip to hip, hip to hip. Now my job is to copy now. I'm literally just focusing on copying what I've just done. That felt pretty good. Oh, 1 yard, oh, nearly hit the pin. Again, really good shot. We'll finish with a 60. Back left pin, same process, rib to rib, rib to rib, rib to rib. Clean the face, aim at my point, weight on the left, soft arms. It's all about tempo, rib to rib. Just left of it, look at the distance, bang, landed right next to it. So there we go, distance control 101, the ladder drill. The test, and if you can do this, I'll be very impressed. We go from 40 yards up to 120 yards and then back down to 40 yards. That's why it's called the ladder. You work up the ladder and you see if you can work the ladder, down the ladder. If you mess it up, you start again. So you give yourself a tolerance. If you are maybe a scratch golfer, give yourself 3 yards. If you are a 5 to 12 handicap, give yourself 4 yards. If you're a 12 to an 18 handicap, 5 yards, and above yourself, above that, maybe 6 yards. Test yourself, hold yourself accountable. work up and down the ladder, see how you go. I hope that helps.